Welcome back, everyone. Here's section 7.2 notes, the quadratic formula. Remember that you need to be in the standard form of the quadratic formula, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Remember, a cannot equal 0. And here's the breakdown of what the quadratic formula actually entails. It's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So, going straight into example 1. Example 1 says negative x, parentheses, x minus 6, close the parentheses, equal to 11. When looking at this problem, it's not in the standard form. So first thing we need to do is get it to standard form. You're going to distribute. You become negative x squared plus 6x equals 11. Then you need to make sure that the 11 joins the other side. So you're going to subtract 11 to both sides. And you become negative x squared plus 6x minus 11 equal to 0. At this point, we notice that we are in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Identify your a value. In this instance, a is a negative 1, b is a positive 6, and c is a negative 11. We're going to take our equation, so it's x equals negative b plus and minus square root b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. First thing I did is I wrote my equation. And now I'm going to substitute the values of b, a, and c into the equation. So it says x equals negative, and in parentheses, I'm going to stick a positive 6, just in case the b value happened to be a negative number. Then it goes plus minus square root. I'm going to put the 6 in parentheses power of 2 minus 4 times negative 1 in parentheses times a negative 11 in parentheses, and divide that all by 2 times my negative 1. We continue and we're going to say x equals negative 6 plus minus. Do the math inside. Well, 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times a negative 1, negative, that's positive 4. But then you're going to multiply by a negative number. So I become negative 44. All over 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2. Before you can do anything with the radical, you need to do the math inside. So we have x equals negative 6 plus minus the square root. I had $36, but I spent 44. I am short 8 over negative 2. Looking at this problem right now, we notice that our x value, this value right here, is going to cause us to have an imaginary value. So we become x equals negative 6 plus minus the number 8. I'm going to rewrite it as 4, square root of 4, square root of 2, square root of negative 1. The reason I wrote it as 4 times 2 is 8, times the negative 1, there's my negative 8. Do the math by breaking out the 4 down here. So we have x equals negative 6 plus minus. Now it's 2. Then remember, definition of radical numbers. Negative 1 is, square root of negative 1 is an I value. Radical 2. And then I'm going to divide both pieces by the value of negative 2. So then you end up being x equals positive 3. Because I'm doing plus minus divided by a negative, I'm still going to be plus minus. The 2's are going to cancel out, leaving you with I radical 2. Example 2, our first word problem, says a truck travels south from Hartselle, Alabama to Birmingham, Alabama, along I-65. It then heads east to Atlanta, Georgia, along I-20. The reason I underlined travel south and heads east is because they're directions. The next part of the problem says the distance from Birmingham to Atlanta is 8 miles less than twice the distance from Hartselle to Birmingham. The distance from Hartselle to Atlanta is 165 miles. They want us to find the distance from Hartselle to Birmingham and then from Birmingham to Atlanta. And they want us to round to the nearest mile. A key piece of information they give you that says that the distance from Birmingham to Atlanta is 8 miles less than twice the distance. 8 miles less than twice the distance. And that the distance from Hartselle to Atlanta is 165 miles. I'm going to use a pictorial graph of a triangle here, because it said the truck head south, started here, went south, and then went east. So we have a right triangle. It says that the distance from, started at Hartselle, then went south to Birmingham, and then went east to Atlanta. It said that the distance from Hartselle to Atlanta is 165 miles. The other thing they said is that the distance from Birmingham to Atlanta is 8 less than twice from Hartselle to Birmingham. So from Hartselle to Birmingham is going to be your x, because that's a basic value. And then the other part says it's 8 less than twice. So it means it's twice the distance minus 8. We have to refer back to our geometry days. Because we have a right triangle and there are 3 sides given, we have to use the Pythagorean Theorem, which says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to replace, remember your legs are a and b, and then always the hypotenuse value is always going to be the c value. So we're going to stick x squared plus 2x minus 8 squared equal to your 165 squared. Here we are going to make it x squared. Here you're going to apply the rules of your perfect square trinomials, which say square the first position. So 2x and I squared becomes 4x squared. You multiply your a and b parts. So 2x times 8 is 16. And then double it becomes negative 32x. And then the back end is where you square the 8. So 8 squared is positive 64. Then you're going to square 165. And we get 27,225. We get to this point. We need to first combine our like terms. So we have x and x squared plus another 4 makes it 5x squared minus 32x plus 64 equaling our 27,225. You want to make sure that it's set equal to 0 because we want to be able to use a quadratic formula. So we're going to subtract the 27,225 over to the left side. So we become 5x squared minus 32x minus 27,161 set equal to 0. So quadratic formula, remember, identify your A, B, and C. So the A value is a 5, the B value is a negative 32, and the C value in this instance is being negative 27,161. I'm going to start again by writing my equation. X equals negative B plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Now, since we're finding distance is a unit of measurement. I'm not going to use the plus minus anymore. I'm just going to write it as x equals negative b plus the square root b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And now we're going to substitute. So we have x equals negative. The b value is a negative 32. Negative 32 squared minus 4 times 5 times your negative 27,161, all divided by 2 times your 5. So we get negative and negative makes it positive 32. You have to do 32 squared. And we get 1,024. Now it gets negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. Negative 20 times another negative makes it positive. So we're going to do 20 times 27,161, making it 543,220. All divided by 2 times 5, which is 10. We are going to simplify inside. So we're going to add 1,024 to our 543220 gives us 544,244, all divided by 10. We are going to take the square root of our 544,224. And it gives us 544,244. 32 plus 738, I rounded up, one to the whole number, divided by 10. So we have 738 plus our 32, divided by 10, results in 77. So x is 77. Now the problem said it wanted the distance values from each of the places. So they wanted us to find the distance from Hartselle to Atlanta, distance from Hartselle to Birmingham. So Hartselle to Birmingham is our x value, and that is 77. And then from Birmingham to Alabama, which is our 2x minus 8. So we're going to do 2 times 77 minus 8. So 77 doubled is 154 minus 8. Which means it's 146 miles.